Shalom, everybody. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, shalom, Rabbi.
Okay, so we starting chapter 10 of the Holy Book of Tanya. So in the previous chapter we learned all about the inner war which waged by our two souls. But do you remember how did we get to the conversation about two souls? Okay, so we found out that their cohabitation within our body is not so peaceful. I mean, the ideal would be cooperation and partnership and so on, but normally it's a conflict. It's a fight, it's a war. But how did we get to this conversation about two souls? Yes, David.
In the beginning, it was about actually, I don't know. I mean, just the animal soul and the divine soul. I don't know what was the preamble.
So let's see what was in the beginning. In the beginning, we spoke about the mission of the person, of the soul in this world. Be righteous, be tzaddik, don't be wicked. So what is this? Let's first find out the meaning of the terms. And we found in the Talmud and in the Kabbalah 5 levels. Tzaddikim, two levels of righteous people. Tzaddik v'tovla, tzaddik who prospers, that's the simple translation of this term. He also called complete tzaddik. Tzaddik who suffers, tzaddik v'ralo, incomplete tzaddik. The symmetrical levels of not so righteous people, rasha, the sinners, wicked who prospers, the tovla, wicked who suffers, the ralo, without though mentioning how complete they are, and something in between, beinani, intermediate. And we realized that Beinani is not the one who half of his time sins, half of the time behaves righteously. No, this is some already very high level. So to understand what are these levels are, what do they mean, that's how we introduced the idea of two souls. The divine soul and the animal soul. It's said that by tzaddikim, their good part is ruling. They are motivated by the good nature. Sinners motivated by the evil nature. But to be more specific, we have two powers within ourselves, and we discussed the details, the inner structure of our souls, the additional powers, garments of the soul, thought, speech, and action, and so on. And in the last chapter we discussed how they actually fight within each other, within our body. That the divine soul wants to be a complete ruler. That the head of the person should be occupied by the intellectual powers of the soul, chokhmah bin das. That the emotional should be also enclosed into the love on God of God, and and produce the motivation to fulfill the mitzvahs, the commandments of the Torah, and so on, and to make sure that the enemy doesn't get in doesn't sneak inside. So let's continue. But we had to renew our what we spoke about tzaddik and rasha, and specifically about the tzaddik. That there are, because we're going to start with the tzaddik. V'hinei, kishodam magber nafshi elokis. So when a person fortifies his divine soul, like we mentioned in the previous chapter, V'nilcham kol kach in abhemis, and wages war against his animal soul, to such an extent that he expels and eradicates its evil from the left part of the heart, right? Like we discussed in the previous chapter. The revelation of the divine soul starts in the mind, in the brain, and then the proper thoughts and occupying your mind with proper subjects and knowledge, information, and so on, that brings forth the proper emotions, and on the level of heart, which is the abode of our animal soul, because that's the main part of our animal nature, the emotions, the lusts, and so on. But through the proper work of our mind, we can create, our divine soul can create like sub encampment, so to speak, on the level of the heart. We call it the left part of the heart. I'm not going back to all the details. As it's written, and you shall root out the evil from within you. But remember, we discussed different levels of victory which our divine soul might attain. First, let's start with making sure that you think properly, you learn the divine wisdom and so on. So it creates the proper emotions, proper feelings, love and awe. But the next level, to make sure that it becomes the system of your life. Not just sporadic thinking with flashes of good emotions. No, it becomes your kind of shape of personality. Then it totally fills your heart. Then it spills out, transforming your other side, so to speak. But on the certain level, we're talking about success and kind of victory of our divine soul. But we cannot say that the evil is completely uprooted from the nature of the person. Yet the evil is not actually converted to goodness. There's no radical transformation. There are changes, great changes, and tremendous elevation of the nature of the person. But it's not that there is no evil, the evil completely eradicated and transformed. Better to use this term, because there is no purpose to destroy our nature, but rather to transform, convert it into to support, to embrace the spirituality and ungodliness. Yet the evil is not actually converted to goodness. On that level of accomplishment, of achievement, nikra tzadik sheina gomor, v'tzadik veraloi. On that level, he is called tzadik sheina gomor, incomplete tzadik, v'tzadik veraloi. In another term for the same level, like we said, incomplete, or who suffers. But the literal meaning of this expression, tzaddik veralo, it rather should be interpreted like the tzaddik who has ra, veraloi, he has ra, evil. The literature translation would be, and it's bad to him, he suffers. But the literal would be that bad belongs to him. vera loy. The evil, he has some evil. He's righteous, but somewhere deep inside there is something opposite to good.
It's rooted out of evil within you. And you shall root out the evil within you. He didn't convert it, but he rooted it out.
So he pushed out from the visible space, so to speak, and what we see, the righteous person.
But there's still rebels in the caves, kind of.
Exactly. If I understand this idiom correctly, in the caves, you don't see them.
Pushed out of the war room.
But somewhere in essential depths, there are still remnants of evil, and we'll explain what does it mean. That means he's called incompletely righteous, or a righteous man who suffers, and we say that this is not the exact translation. That is to say, there is still lingers in him a fragment of wickedness in the left part. Okay. Ela shikofov uvotal lateif machmas miuti. Except that it is subjugated and nullified by the good because of the minuteness. They're not talking about some portion of evil. So the majority is of good, but and therefore he's righteous because the forces of goodness overweighting. We're not talking about some visible proportions. It's very minuscule presence of evil, not openly visible. But let's try to understand the essence of what we're trying of what we're describing. Okay, so but first let's see the symptoms. Velochen nidmaloi ki vegarshei hovayelechloy kuli legamri. Hence, because it's so minimal, he imagines that he has driven it out. And has quite disappeared, and it has quite disappeared. It could be the impression that the person indeed is righteous, tzaddik, complete, not complete. We see righteousness, and we don't see the presence of evil. That the impression may be. Aval be'emes. But in truth, however, had all the evil in him entirely departed and disappeared, it would have been converted into actual goodness. In truth of the matter, the real victory would be as a complete transformation. I said, turning the enemy into the part of yourself, the asset, the not just partner. Partner is someone else cooperating. Here, the conversion of evil by godliness would mean that total, inclusion of former enemy into the divinity. Here, it's subjugated and nullified, but nullified from visible presence, still lurking somewhere, like Yosef said, in the caves, and not like Hamas in tunnels, because you see the result of their presence. Here you might not see, not even see it. So let's try to explain what we just described. וביר העניין, כי הנה צדיק גומר, שנך בהרה שלה לטוב, ולכן נקרא צדיק וטוב לו, הוא על ידי הסורס הבגודים עצויים לגמרי, מהרה. First, let's try to understand what would mean the complete transformation, becoming the complete tzaddik. The explanation of the matter is that a completely righteous man, complete tzaddik, in whom the evil has been converted to goodness, and who is consequently called a righteous man who prospers, v'tov loi, has completely divested himself of the filthy garment of evil. What is filthy garments of evil?
Just like we say when mitzvahs become the garments of the soul to see in Gan Eden, Averis is the.
Oh, very good. So it's not the not exactly thought, speech, and action, the garments of the soul. Remember that the garment used term garments for something outer, for the ways of expression. Yes. And the essential impulses of the animal soul are expressed in the lusts. In what?
Water.
Water, which represents desire for pleasures. For the complete tzaddik, his achieving the completeness would mean that he totally got rid of those animalistic desires. He's totally not interested in any material benefits of this life. If interested only as a mean of reaching, he sees materiality simply as a tool set for serving the Creator, but his desires are entirely concentrated on the spirituality and godliness. Therefore, his love of God is complete and perfect.
Does the evil, when it's converted, give you some extra special drive or boost or power compared to?
Oh yeah.
Like, what does it do?
Incomparable.
Beating it?
Because that's the essence of the animal soul, the power of desire. So since you reorient the vector of this desire, you get access to tremendous power, which is totally above anything which divine soul by itself is capable of.
And all that desire is now desire for serving God. That strong desire there for evil. Once it's converted, that strongness is still there.
Just imagine very primitive illustration, but it might explain. Good manager or smart scientist, engineer, whatever. But he's not the person who can do things. He can figure out, maybe organize, but he cannot do it. He needs a worker, right? He needs a worker with hands. So, how the worker can be convinced to do what this smart guy wants?
Give him vision.
He could be forced, right?
Paid.
He could be paid, or he could be convinced.
Given a vision of what he should do.
Vision, and to the highest level would be that would become his desire to do what he was explained, right? To fulfill this plan. Could you imagine what kind of, how to say, partnership is it, and how much more productive the work would be if the doer wants the same thing as the guy who created the plan. Totally incomparable with the level of being forced to do and even being paid. So that's approximately the relationship between our two souls. The animal soul could be forced. Just say no. I want to do something bad, but this is right thing to do, and you pull your horse in the right direction against its will. Okay, mission accomplished, but on some level, but as often way. Another level is when it becomes kind of a habit for that horse to ride on the right road. It becomes routine. It's being get some satisfaction from it, from understanding that I'm doing right things. But it's much higher when the whole desire is to fulfill the mission. When the nature becomes godly. So, getting back to the essence, what essentially is the complete tzaddik. לידי הסורס בגודים צועים לגמרי מהרה, דהיינו לימס מאויד בתענוגי עולם הזה, להיסניג בום בסענוגי בני אדם, למה הסתיו איזה גוף בלבד, ולא לעבוד את השם. That is to say, he utterly despises the pleasure of this world. You can even translate this verb as sins. Hates. I don't know if it's this sounds the same negative as despises, but it's a strong word. No, Limes despises the pleasures of this world, finding no enjoyment in human pleasures of merely gratifying the physical appetites instead of seeking the service of God. Inasmuch as they are derived from and originate in the klipa and sitra achra. וכל מה שהוא מהסטרא אחרא צדיק גומר הוא סייני בתכלס השנאה. For whatever is of the sitra achra is hated by the thirdly righteous man with an absolute hatred. Here we got this word hatred. He hates it. And at the first glance and at first reading, it might feel a little bit not so comfortable. We're talking about the righteous person and using to describe how righteous he is, how good he is, we're using the type of terms he hates. But this is the way to describe his positive side. We will see. By reason of his great love of God. So his hatred to the sitra achra, to the other side, to bad things or just to animalistic things, it's just other side of his absolute love to God. We mentioned his absolute, devotion. No. His absolute hatred. What could be the rejection to those things as a consequence, as an outcome of his absolute, perfect, 100% devotion to God. Why do we need to mention his hatred? Because from this we will understand the specifications of imperfectness of non-complete tzaddik. Because we said that the complete tzaddik totally get rid of these filthy garments of of the animal soul, which are desires towards the bad things, or just materialistic things. Complete tzaddik loves Hashem absolutely, and wants only the only spirituality. מפני גודל אהבו של השם וקדושו באהבה רבה בתענוגים וחיבה יסירה הנזכרים לעיל. With profuse affection and delight and superlative devotion, as it's stated above. What we learned before when we mentioned the stages of the victory of divine soul. כי הם זה לעומת זה. For they are antithetical one to other. דכסיף, תכלס סינס נסים לי אויבים הויליך הקרדניה ודל לבובי. Like it's written in the Psalms, I hate them with the utmost hatred, that King David says about his feelings towards the enemies of God, the forces of evil and so on. I regard them as my own enemies. Search me, Lord, and know my heart. So the level of rejection of the bad things shows the level of love towards God. Could you please lower your devices till the end of the class? וכפי ערך גודל האהבה להשם, כך ערך גודל השנאה לסטרא אחרא והמיאוס ברבי תכלס. כי המיאוס הוא הפך האהבה ממש כמו השנאה. And so according to the abundance of the love towards God, so is the extent of the hatred towards sitra achra and the utter contempt of evil, for contempt is as much as the opposite of real love as hatred. Okay. We understand this combination of these two vectors. The more the person rejects the evil and any animalistic and physical desires, it shows the higher level, the completeness of his love of God. That's the essential difference between these two levels of righteous people, complete tzaddik and incomplete tzaddik. V'tzaddik she'eino gomer, hu she'eino soneh sitra achra b'tachlis hasina. That's the essence, that's the core of his imperfection, incompleteness. The incompletely righteous is he who does not hate the sitra achra with an absolute hatred. Deep inside, he has some potential towards certain lusts and desires, physical desires, for physical pleasures. It may not be revealed openly, but deep inside there are some minimal presence of it, remnants of it. Yes. Velochen eine moos gam ken bera betachlis. There he doesn't not absolutely abhor evil. Since he didn't get rid completely of it, the level of his rejection of evil is also not incomplete. And since his rejection, his rejection of evil is not 100%, that shows that his love of God is also not perfect. וכל שאין השנאה והמיאוס בתכלס, הרקוכך נשאר איזה שמץ אהבה ושנאות לשם. ולהוסר רב לא נמצאים לגמרי מכל וכל, ולכן לי נחבך לטוב ממש, מאחר שיש לי איזה אחיזה עדיין בבגודים צועים. Therefore, he does not also absolutely abhor evil, and as long as the hatred and scorn of evil are not absolute, there must remain some vestige of love and pleasure in it. And the false garments have not entirely and absolutely been shed. אלה שהוא בוטל במיעוטי וכלי חושב לא כן נקרא צדיק ורע לו. כופף ובוטל לו. Therefore, the evil has not actually been converted to goodness, since it still has some hold in the filthy garments, except that it is nullified because of its minute quantity and is accounted as nothing. And therefore, such a person is called a righteous man, in whom the evil is subjugated in surrender to him. Tzadik vera loy. Tzadik, he's righteous, but there is some ra, some evil inside of him. Surrendered. Kind of nullified, but it's still there. ועל כן, גם האבוסי להשם אינה בתכלס, ולכן נקרא צדיק שאינה גומר. Accordingly, his love of God is also not perfect, but the result he's called incompletely righteous. Now we understand the true meaning of these terms. The tzaddik, who prospers, we call him complete, and another one is who suffers, incomplete. So in Hebrew it's the tovloi, tzaddik v'tovloi. He has only tov. The other one is called the raloi. Not the true meaning is not the who suffers, but he has some ra. There is some evil inside of him, and therefore he is not complete. Eina gomor. Why? Because the true idea of being righteous and being called tzaddik, it's according to the love of God. And since, because his hatred, rejection of evil is not complete, that shows that his love is not complete. Therefore, he's not complete tzaddik. Okay, let's stop here for today. Thank you.